Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Star Wars Minute. It's your daily show in which we analyze, scrutinize, and celebrate Solo, a Star Wars story 1 minute at a time. I'm Alex Robinson from alexrobinson.fun.
I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
I'm Arnie Niekamp from the podcast Hello from the Magic Tavern.
And I am Matt Young from the podcast Hello from the Magic Tavern that you can support at Magic Tavern, at patreon.com/Magic Tavern. I got it backwards for a second.
Well, yes, people should do that. And thanks, guys, for coming. You are returning to the show. We did a live show with you guys at Celebration, right?
Yeah.
2019?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was delightful.
In the before times. So glad we could have you guys here over the Zoom. So, minute 41.
In person with just big swarm of thousands of people for a weekend, and then just in closets over a recording.
Yeah. The next one we're going to record over letter. We're going to send each other letters.
Yeah.
And
what a lovely throwback. I love it.
But that's in the future. Today we're talking about minute number 41 of Solo, a Star Wars story. Minute 41 starts off with Chewbacca suggesting that Beckett, Han, and himself run away from Crimson Dawn. Easy.
Mm-hmm.
And then it ends a minute later with Han telling Beckett he finds some blank. He finds some blank.
Find some...
I like the match game quality of it. He finds some blank.
Turkish delight.
Oh, yeah, we should have all written it down and held it up. We got to remember anytime a minute ends like that.
Yeah.
My first note was 41 and run, because this is minute 41 and the first thing they say is run. So 41 and run. That's the
baseball.
That's the slogan
thing?
for this.
Beautiful.
I definitely noted the Chewie translation, which I'm sure is like an endless thing where Chewie goes wah, and he's like, right, we run. So that now we're slowly learning every word in the Wookiee language.
I wonder what the literal translation was. Was he like, we get the F out of here? Was he like,
I think he was like,
I don't know about you, but I'm
like, right, we run, right?
Yeah.
Exit, stage left.
Attributed him to a lot of things, for sure, yeah.
I think Chewie was like, you know what, the only way we're going to solve this is if we get a political office. And it's like, right, we run.
I think she was just like, you guys got any food?
All right.
He's like, yeah, you hear that? We run. Yeah.
It is interesting, though, that it in just a minute, it almost completely does an about face from run to like whatever he says next. I have no idea what he says next. Yeah. Because it feels like a weird moment that is actually like something crystallizing that becomes Han Solo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This idea that like I'm not gonna be the guy who runs. I'm gonna be the guy who figures out a way to solve it. Like, even though he's running from Jabba, he's trying to like solve it. He's gonna square with Jabba, and it's like, I'm gonna pay you back. I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna fix it. He becomes that guy. Eventually.
Yeah.
Mr. Fixit.
Yeah. That's why everyone calls him that.
Yeah. That's
my favorite action figure, was the Han Solo Mr. Fixit action figure.
And this is really the inception of Chewie always being like, fine, don't listen to me. Like, I'm giving you really good advice, and you're immediately not taking it.
He's just starting each day. He was like, what we should do? And Han's like, that's right, we run. And she was like, what? And he's like, I had a plan. He was going to he had a PowerPoint almost. He was like,
Going back to the very first time when we're introduced to Chewbacca, Chewbacca says to Han, like, this crazy wizard is trying to get us to, he wants to hire us. And Han's like, yeah, we should totally do it. He totally goes against Chewie's advice. I'm never going to get home for Life Day.
Well, yeah, but it is, particularly on the heels of, at the end of last minute, you guys weren't here for this, but the minute previous was... Beckett punched him in the face and basically said, "Hey, now we're in trouble because we owe." And at first, you thought it was Beckett was upset because his girlfriend just blew up, but then it seems like he's just like, "You idiot! Now we owe a lot of money," and so like Beckett's character just turned a little bit, and so this is interesting to see Han Solo kind of picking this up and running with it, like you just said, that the characters change a little bit. They advance. The character development here in the
I was wondering,
last 2 minutes.
Because I've seen Solo, but it's been a while, and I was like, didn't she just die? Like how long ago was it? Because this, you would never guess it from this minute that it just happened.
If you look,
I mean, literally, they were at their grave in minute 40.
They are at their grave still.
At the side
They're standing
of their
at their
grave the whole
grave.
time this comment.
So, like his recently buried like buddy pilot, multi-armed Jon Favreau guy, and his lovely girlfriend have just perished horribly, and he's just like, oh, now we owe some money.
I also haven't seen all of I'm sorry.
No,
I also haven't seen all of Solo in a while. And I don't know if you guys have really dug into this, but I'm so fascinated by the pre-production process where they're like, if Chewie has an extra half of a bandolier, that will be really cool. Like, what? I just like, it's so distracting to me. I'm like, it just doesn't need to change. It's like, it's fine the way it was. Like, what is that doing? But I'm also glad that there isn't like, Chewbacca, the bandolier story. That's like the
how he got it.
Yeah. The 80-page like short story about how but not yet exactly. Well, that like someone will explain that.
To make it extra an added wrinkle to it is that when we had seen him previously in Revenge of the Sith, he did have his bandolier. So at some point between then and he either says, no, I'm just going to leave this at home and not wear it off Kashyyyk, or he loses it, buys another one. We don't know. There's the story right there, trilogy right there.
Yeah, whole trilogy.
Is it possible that he has a ton of different things that he wears, but it's like the guy who accidentally wears the same thing to school pictures like a couple years in a row?
Yeah.
So like every time there's a Star Wars movie in universe, he just happens to be wearing the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, you're sort of like, oh, you know what? I don't know why. I do always wear this shirt on Monday for some reason. So the same people are always seeing this shirt.
And every Star Wars movie takes place on a Monday. We all know that.
Yeah. That's why Garfield hates them.
I was hyper focused on Chewie for this whole minute. Because like he has his line at the beginning, and then he's just kind of back there in the whole time, and I just sort of felt like he was kind of awkwardly standing there as if he was like, well, I've done my line. And I just imagine him being like, oh, what do I do with my hands in the rest of this scene?
Han Solo. Chewie is definitely the NPC of the group. Like he never drives the
Right.
He's never the one deciding what to do or anything like that. He's always, at worst, you have to manage him. He's either choking Lando or activating Endor traps or, stuff like that. So,
although it is,
anyway.
I mean, picture being in years later, it'll be different because he's lived with them for a long time. But like, just picture being in like a friend you just made who speaks a completely different language is arguing with his friend who also speaks that language, and you're just not you know enough to get by, but it's not your primary language, and you're just kind of like But then like you're just going to check out for most of the argument. And you're like, I just want to know where this ends up.
Chewie's just like, I have a really nuanced take on all of this, but Han's not going to understand any. He knows run. Yeah. That's all he's going to get.
He takes out his journal and he's like,
They're also very long-lived. Wookiees live a long time. So they're just like, I can wait. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
These guys will all be dead soon.
Do you think Wookiees look at humans the way we look at those disgusting hairless cats? Are they like, they're like their skin. It's all wrinkled and you can see everything. It's ugh. Anyway,
I think they think we're their pets. I think the exact opposite of what we think, where we're like, oh, Chewbacca's kind of like Han Solo's pet, but he's sentient, but it's Chewie has it the totally other way. You're right.
Yeah.
I would love a movie of all Wookiees and just Han Solo is occasionally trying to talk and Chewie just turns to the other Wookiee and he's just like, I don't know, he said fly or something. He said fly.
Now, would the dialogue be recorded in English to be like, well, we're translating it the way that, like a movie takes place in like Russia, and Soviet Union, and they just have British accents or maybe a little bit of a thing.
Well, they have Wookiee accents.
Right. So would it just be like a bunch of British accents and then Han Solo stuff would be translated into a different, we'd pick out some other random like seldom heard dialect from somewhere in the world, and that would be his language.
Yeah, it'd be like, what does a Wookiee think a human sounds like? It's like, it'd just be like nonsense. Right, yeah.
Or it'd be that sort of the modern take where they're always like, the Wookiees are like, we all agreed we'd promise to practice our English. Let's try to speak English the rest of the time.
Like his family are diplomats, and so they all speak English, around the house to practice their basic, and that's not called English; it's basic, and it's Star Wars land.
Basic, of course.
You basic.
So,
not to change the subject, but I was really hyper focused also in this minute on everybody's shirts were real unbuttoned, like. They were in a very cold place, and
give the audience what they want.
Every shirt, every layer was at least 2 buttons unbuttoned.
Well, in their defense, they were just at a funeral. We just talked about
That's right. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
We don't know what their funeral traditions are like. It could have been, like, this is how we mourn. We get naked.
Right.
So Beckett asks, do you know what it's like to have a price on your head? Which is, of course, we hear General Reiki.
The idea to get a price on his head.
It's like, it sounds kind of fun if you put it when you think about it.
I mean, I know my value, my self-worth. It's
I think he's just trying. The things like that are like are alluding to something that we know is technically in the future, even though it's in the past. That one in particular doesn't bother me as much. Some of the really heavy-handed ones, that's like they're living in a situation where like they messed up, but now they're gonna have a price on their head, and it's like, okay, I get the little allusion or whatever to the older films, but it's not as like clumsily done as some of the other stuff. Sometimes when it's like fan servicey,
Yeah.
So I don't hate that as much as some other things that get in my craw,
Yeah. As fan service goes, it's pretty mild stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
We've been developing the formula that we hit on starting with The Force Awakens is that I think we were talking about it with comedy, but also with kind of fan service referential stuff, is that there's generally about like 10-15% too much of it, but nobody agrees on which is that 10-15%. Some people like things that work one way, some people like things that work the other way. And this for me this kind of works. But then going through it, now that we're going through minute by minute, the fact that like at least once a week there is something that's a direct reference to something else, I'm like, oh yeah, there really is a lot of it here.
The minute by minute is very like unforgiving. I feel like you're probably hyper focusing on like, oh yeah, this minute too. They're doing this again at this minute.
Well, and you also realize how long some segments go on. You're like, oh my, I feel like we've been talking about this for like 3 months now.
Yeah.
Are they ever going to get off this train or whatever the thing is?
Although conversely, some of the things that have felt. Some of the things that felt interminable in the theater then was just like, oh, it's only like 3 minutes of movie. It's only like 3 days worth of movie. Like, what was I complaining about? Yes.
Go ahead.
But I had a question about what Beckett says too, because he's saying like, we're not in trouble with the law, like, because Han's like, I'm a deserter. Let's run. Who cares?
Yeah.
And he's like, it's not the Empire. The Empire. Like the Crimson Dawn will send people after you, and it's like the Empire doesn't send anybody after you if you're a deserter. Like if you just join, if you split, like they're not going to like have anybody looking for you. They're just gonna. I mean, I guess if you
probably on a very low level, like if you go try to get a library card or something, like it says here you're a deserter, but there must be so many of them that they can't really afford to send out. It's probably not cost efficient to send out.
Right.
Well, and I suspect that the sort of discipline, if you're in the actual Imperial military structure, is pretty harsh, and it's actually probably pretty hard to get away in the first place.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, there might...
Good for you. If you did it, hey, you earned it.
Right. You did it. Get out of here.
Yeah.
But if a whole group leaves and they're in some outer territory on the outer rim or something, it's like, yeah, all right. Like, maybe we'll send a ship to investigate or something if it's like a big thing. But the smaller things, I think they just don't have.
Right.
the time, because they're trying. So I think at this point they're trying really hard to still expand and take things over. But I don't remember. I dip my toes into like the expanded universe, like trying to understand like the political nonsense of it all, and like I'm like, oh, this seems really interesting. I'm gonna dig into this, and then I go, I don't care that much.
Yeah. Well, if it was, we've said this, that if there was if you could basically extract the plot, like discard the plot from some of the EU stuff and just have, essentially we want like Ken Burns' Empire, where it's just like, give me a documentary about like how it was founded, what the political structure is, who rose to power by doing what. We would be all on board for that, and just don't give me like the story about a different rogue who happened to work his way through, or this stormtrooper who's got a conscience all of a sudden. Like, just give me the details.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that actually is really interesting. Like some of the world building stuff that is like murky, that they could just be like, this is what happened,
right?
But make it like presented in a beautiful and like thoughtful way. That is like I actually would watch that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I feel like they would need to hire like real life historians, or the problem is I feel like the people they have writing the novels and stuff are not necessarily people who would be like, okay, let me figure out how a complex political system could actually work in the Empire. They just want to have Han Solo, going out doing cool stuff. So I feel like they would have to kind of. I almost don't want them to do more details, because I feel like it would just be so dumb that it wouldn't even hold up under any kind of scrutiny. In which case, what's the point of world building?
Get the guy that did those LBJ biographies everyone's talking about.
We were just talking about that.
I'm reading one of those books, not as we speak, not while we're doing the podcast, but that is currently.
Which is rude. Book. I've been noticing. Yeah, you've got that book in front of you.
It's a very big book. It's a lot to get through. So sorry if I seem distracted.
Multitasking. You got the teleprompter with the LBJ going.
Do you guys think any real life Earth people who got into the job of bounty hunting got into it because of Star Wars? Who got more people into bounty hunting, Dog or Boba Fett? I guess is the question.
That's hard to say. I will say this for myself, having grown up with the original trilogy. My concept of what a bounty hunter was for a long time was a Star Wars thing, and I didn't really translate that to a thing that existed in the real world, or really understood that they were like, oh, there's a bounty on someone's head. It's like, you are a bounty hunter, just like you are a human. Like I thought it was like a thing that you were sort of innately. It's
like a race, like you were born a bounty hunter.
I think when I was a kid,
from a bounty hunter planet.
Honest to God, I think when I was a kid, I thought that. I thought it was just like, you are a thing, and I was like, I didn't really like ever analyze it until I got a little bit older. And I was like, oh yeah, that's somebody who
I could be a bounty hunter.
I get it. I could be a bounty hunter,
right?
So I imagine there's not a 0% of the population who are like me, a dumb kid like me, or just like, oh, Boba Fett is a bounty hunter. That's a thing that exists in Star Wars.
But how many of them then go on to actually not only investigate bounty hunting, but actually go so far as to pursue it as a career?
I mean, not 0% for sure.
I think so.
I'll confidently say, I mean, I think Dog the Bounty Hunter probably had a net negative. Like, I feel like most people saw that show and they're like, oh, wait, no.
Yeah, you know what? No, I'm going to hang it up. I can't. I don't want to be associated with this guy. That was my Zuckus impersonation. Zuckus being like, oh, you know what? The show's terrible.
Doesn't sound very robotic, but
yeah. But I'm an originalist. Right, all right, that is right. All right, so yeah, you were one step ahead of me. I know.
Got it.
So Beckett here says, he reveals, like you said, that they're not being chased by the Empire is not like being chased by Crimson Dawn and stuff, and I almost feel like if I didn't know better, I would think he was conning him at this point.
I was going to say the same thing, because I was trying to remember the order of the movie, because I know there's some amount of conning going on later, but like I couldn't tell. I was like, how much of this is stilted acting and how much of this is just a full on like winking con?
Yeah, well, because he turns out to be telling the truth. I mean, so it's not. But the way he's delivering it almost seems like he's, oh yeah, we owe a lot of money to a real powerful gangster. You're gonna have to just put some money in if we want to get out of this situation. So,
and the way the music comes in is so manipulative in that moment. It's so on the nose that it seems like it does seem like there's something off about it.
Right.
But like if they had gotten away with some of the coaxium, the hyperfuel, if they had gotten away with some of it, then there would be that wrinkle maybe of him being like, yeah, I don't know, we lost some of it, so they're going to kill us. Then he might be like, well, you guys run away. I'll take what we've got left and go beg for mercy. Meanwhile, he's just going to cash it in for,
Yeah.
See, I sort of took this a totally different way. Maybe because I'm a sucker like Han Solo in this moment. But I thought they were trying to like, to me, the point of Tobias is to be like, oh, here's who Han Solo will become, sort of. So I think they were trying to be like, oh, he's this like noble rogue. Yeah. And it's like, oh, so he's like wants to be like this. This is the guy he looked up to. This is the guy he learned everything from. So I thought they were trying to set up this like parallel of like, oh, this is the kind of the guy he will be. And then part of the story is him realizing that he's not who he thought he was. I mean, that is part of it, but
yeah, I think that's a valid interpretation. It's like a mentor figure kind of to him.
Yeah, so I didn't even think about it being a con at this point. I thought I just was like so distracted by like, oh, they want Han to like believe in this guy,
right?
That I wasn't really paying attention to how he could have been screwing him over.
Well, I didn't think of it until we were watching it minute by minute. Like in the flow of the overall movie, I don't think it would have occurred to me. But when I was just watching it now, it seemed kind of shifty. So when he says to Han's like, well, I'm going to go with you. And then he says to Han, like, well, think about this, because once you get into this life, you don't get out, and, it could be deadly and stuff. He's being sincere there. He's not doing this to kind of be like, oh, no, kid, it's too dangerous for, like, too much fortune and glory in it, kid. There's, is he genuinely trying to warn him away, or is he kind of just making it so Han believes it was his own decision to get involved in this madness?
I think it could be a little bit of genuine, but it could also be like he might be saying like, they don't know you, you guys run. And then he's going to go back to Crimson Dawn and be like, hey, we got double crossed by these two guys. Here's what they look like,
Yeah.
I sort of took it as sincere and thinking about it, whether this plays in the moment or not, thinking about it being at the funeral where he's lost two people who he has worked with for a long time. Like maybe he's like, I'll take the hit. It's fine. Everything's already totally screwed up anyway.
I'm in awe of your sincerity. I'm appreciating it.
I'm just a sucker. I definitely shouldn't get into smuggling. I would be terrible at
yourself it. You're a genuine human being.
Thank you.
We need more.
See, I'm the opposite. I find this like I like this isn't my like genuine interpretation, but watching this minute, I'm like, God, if this movie was just full on con upon con of everybody, like how fun would that be? At the end, Chewbacca is just sort of like betrayed, but like walks away and he's like,
he does a card trick
the whole time.
He pulls his head off, and it's a different.
Right? Yeah, he takes his mask off. That's why he's got the different bandolier. He was just pretending to be Chewbacca.
Oh, wow.
He pulls his head off. He's like Glenn Heady or whatever from Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
So the bandolier is like the mustache. Like the evil Chewbacca has the two bandolier. Right. It's a two-shoulder bandolier, and the good Chewbacca has the one. And then one knocks the other one out and switches it. So then the whole.
And they're like, which one's the real chick? Except they're saying it all. They're like, rah, 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 rah. Everybody's like, what? I don't know. They're just yelling.
Ask him something only Chewbacca would know the answer to.
Right.
Well, the evil one does have a goatee too, but you just can't see.
Yeah.
Well, he has a bald patch right under his chin.
Like a negative goatee.
Yeah.
Like the Road Warriors. I do also like the idea that it's maybe the kind of Y-front bandolier is like a midlife crisis for Chewbacca because he lives for so long, and then he's like trying something out. He's just like, hey, does this look cool? Does this look cool?
Right. Or this is him like his college age. This is like his version of like, a punk rock hairdo or something where he's kind of like,
oh, yeah.
And then he goes back to...
Tell me what to do, Itchy. Itchy is Chewbacca's father, right? I think I've asked this every single time Itchy comes up.
Whether it's Chewbacca's or Mala's father, but I think it's Chewbacca's father.
Yeah.
Lumpy is the kid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, do we have anything else for minute number 41?
wanted to give a shout out to Beckett's face of disgust is what I wrote. That kind of like he's Woody Harrelson's got this awesome kind of screw face, like pursed lips look at some point in this, and it's like disgust or pain or something. It's like it's not that it's hard to read in a bad way, but it's like he's a complicated guy with lots of layers there, and he's just making this kind of like pensive, pained thought face, and it's good. It's good work. Good work there, Woody.
I think, yeah. Just to kind of support that, I think Woody Harrelson underrated
in this or overall?
Just in general. Yeah. What's that?
I say overall or in this specifically?
I think overall, but I think he does a good job in this. I think like maybe not moment to moment. Like there's some moments that are because the whole movie itself is a little uneven for my tastes. I think the idea of this kind of mentor character for Han is an interesting one, and honestly, like I could have spent more time with just like that relationship and like learn more about like, oh, how did he learn to become who he is? If that's what we're really exploring, like let's make one movie that's just like, this is him and his mentor, and his mentor screws him over, and get rid of some of the other stuff. Like don't meet everyone all in the same movie, and just like simplify it a little bit. And I think he's the right actor to do that, kind of like, because he's weird and he's funny and he's a little scary. So like it's the right combo of things for Han Solo's mentor to be.
Look, you throw Woody Harrelson into your big franchise movie, as many big franchises do, and he's always going to be pretty good. Like but he's also going to have that same weird hair that's kind of confusing. Like why is it the way it is? But yeah, he's got like a basically he's like a sorry to mix sports into this, but it's almost like he's like a batter who's like he can just really like knock a fastball out of the park, and then like curveballs sometimes he's like hit and miss, but like if you just get him that right pitch, he can just knock it out of the park. Like, he's good at his zone there. He's got some things that he can really do well, and then most of the time people don't ask him to do other things, which is good. Good on them. I mean, because he's always kind of Woody Harrelson, but he's doing good jobs of being that kind of character in other things.
Well, that's what Harrison Ford does. Harrison Ford's good at being Harrison Ford.
There you go.
In movies. And it's great. And occasionally, like, he tries something else. You're like, just be Harrison Ford. You're fine.
Yeah. Harrelson Ford.
Harrison
Ford. Do you guys think anyone else from Cheers will show up in a Star Wars?
Oh, gosh. Frasier hasn't done one yet? Feels like he would have been somewhere.
Star Trek, yeah.
He should have been a voice
He
of
was in Star
something.
Trek a lot.
He should be the voice of something.
Rhea Perlman is in The Bad Batch.
No, get out of here.
No, she is. She's one of the voices in Bad Batch, for sure.
Wow.
She's like their kind of contact. I haven't finished the first season of Bad Batch, but...
weird pull. I didn't either, so that's why I was...
I bet the British guy that was Kirstie Alley's boss / love interest has got to have been in the Empire at some point, right?
Oh, Roger Rees? Yeah. Yeah, gosh, that guy, he'd be perfect. He hasn't done it yet. They got to tap him.
I think... I don't want to jinx it, but I think he might be passed away.
He did. In 2015, he passed away.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. I don't want to ruin this, but I don't want to have him be undead.
I want to jinx it, but he died 7 years ago.
In Arnie's defense, when has that stopped Star Wars?
That's true.
Yeah, that's true. They go through all that trouble of digitally recreating an actor who'd never even been in Star Wars before. Against the wishes of the family.
Oh, no. That's really... No, he was the right guy, so we had to get him.
Like James Dean. Isn't James Dean supposed to be in this Vietnam movie or something?
Yeah.
And they're like, there's no other actor. We auditioned hundreds of other actors and no one else could do it good a job as CGI James Dean. It's crazy.
I had no idea. That's terrible.
Anyway, let's wrap up then. Minute 41.
Yes.
Do you think you guys are available to return tomorrow, maybe?
That's a big thumbs up from me.
All right.
Get some Dryden Voss action for you. Is that Laura?
I'm excited. Yeah, unless traffic delays me or something, I'll definitely be here.
Well, cool then. We look forward to seeing you guys. And hey, everyone, if you missed us this weekend, we look forward to you joining us next weekend because every weekend we do shows specifically for our beloved Patreons. If you go to StarWarsMinute.com/Patreon, you can sign up. You can get a ad-free version of the show in your podcast hole every day, and you get bonus episodes on the weekends. So, not to mention, you still have access to, how many episodes is it, Pete? Like 350 bonus episodes we've done?
More than that, yeah. It's the 350 weekend edition shows plus a bunch of Saturday shows, weekend review shows, and some other stuff.
Content. That's us. Go to StarWarsMinute.com/Patreon and then join us here tomorrow for another Star Wars Minute.
Star Wars Minute.